We've seen these last couple of years that Disney's been struggling to perform at the box office and on their streaming platform. And there's a lot of reasons as to why that's the case. But according to this new survey being reported on by That Park Plays, Disney has lost over 30% of its audience due to its embrace of divisive identity politics. According to survey, audiences have had enough of the Mouse House. Now, I'm not going to say that this is 100% the reason as to why they're failing to capture audiences, but there is something I think to be said with the fact that Disney has been more open about their embrace of certain political issues these last couple of years, something that they've tried to steer clear of, at least not be as overt about it in the past. And then when they started really diving into it, that's when trouble started happening. But let's look at what they're actually saying about it and what this survey is reporting. In a damning new survey conducted by Rasmussen Reports and provided to That Park Place, the entertainment giant Disney is facing a harsh reality. Its embrace of divisive identity politics and abandonment of traditional family values is driving audiences away in droves. The survey, conducted from January 5th through 7th, 2025, sampled 1,408 American adults and revealed a startling trend. Nearly a quarter of respondents, 23%, admitted to avoiding Disney movies in the past year because of the company's political leanings. An additional 9% were unsure, bringing the total potential loss of audiences to 32%. Now, I just want to say something right off the bat. This is just one single survey, so you don't necessarily have to put a whole lot of stock in that. And also, this is saying, I know I need to address it because some people might point it out. This is only 1,408 people in it. Not a significant amount, but you have to understand when it comes to doing a lot of these surveys like this, you don't necessarily need to sample everyone in order to get kind of an idea of where the trends lie. It'd be like me, like flipping a coin 100 times. If I did that, I'd probably get heads and tails roughly around 50-50 because that's just how a coin flip works. I could get, and so if I was to try to extrapolate that and say like, okay, if I was to flip a coin 1,000 times, how many of them will be heads and how many will be tails? If I'm just trying to get an estimate of that, I don't need to flip it 1,000 coins. I can do 10 times, 100 times to get a pretty good idea of that. So that's how surveys work. So when you hear about them only doing like a couple thousand people, well, that's why. But again, though, this is just one survey from one outlet. So we don't necessarily need to know how accurate it is. But one thing I think we can also probably agree on is that there are a certain amount of people within the population who will be put off by Disney being a little bit more vocal about political leanings, or at least producing stuff that has more of a political leaning to it. Now, is that enough to actually get nearly 32% or potentially 32% of the audience to not watch any of their content? I kind of doubt that it's going to be that significant, but I don't think the number is also zero. And you also have to take into consideration, is Disney embracing these sort of things going to be enough to actually bring people in, like people who are like, I don't like Disney stuff, but since they're pushing this political agenda, or since they have this political agenda in their movie, I'm going to watch their stuff. And then you have to consider from Disney's perspective as a business, what's more likely? They're going to be losing people by pushing this agenda, or they're going to be gaining people by pushing this agenda. I think in the past, Disney as a corporation doesn't really necessarily have personal beliefs. Maybe some people within the company have personal beliefs and are trying to steer the company in a certain direction. But I think ultimately they are going to do what they think makes them the most money. I think in the last couple of years, they thought embracing more politics is going to be the thing that makes them more money. And they've seen that that hasn't actually been working out. So they've been trying to almost backpedal on that, which I will get to more in a moment. But first, let's continue on with this. On the surface, Disney might take solace in the fact that 60% of respondents said they had not avoided the company's movies. However, when scaled to Disney's reported streaming audience of 157 million subscribers for its ad-supported tier among Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, the implications are staggering. If 32% of the audience, approximately 51.8 million people, chose not to watch Disney films due to politics, the financial losses are enormous. And then it also goes on to talk about ticket sales. It says the average ticket sale in 2024 was $10.70. So the losing ticket sales as a result of that could add up to $558.5 million. So over $500 million. Even more so when you take into account more of the premium screenings, IMAX, 4DX, 3D numbers, etc., things like that. The survey also broke it down by demographics. It says 47% men, 53% women. Politically, says it's kind of split. 34 respondents identified as Democrat, 29 as Republicans, and 37 as other. So you kind of get the idea right there. It's according to what they were saying right here. What was it? The survey revealed 28% of respondents who avoided Disney due to politics were men compared to 19% who were women. This suggests that men are significantly more likely to reject Disney's offerings based on its perceived political agenda. From a political standpoint, Republicans and independents are driving the negative sentiment as Disney's left-leaning content has increasingly alienated conservative audiences. And like I said before, I don't necessarily agree that it's to the extent that what this survey is actually reporting, but I don't think the number is zero either. And I think they're more likely, at least just looking at the box office results and their streaming numbers, that there's more people turned off by Disney embracing these sort of things than are actually more inclined to actually watch their content. And I think Disney is starting to pick up on this as well. Disney's identity crisis began when it shifted from creating universally beloved content to pushing divisive social and political narratives. Once synonymous with timeless tales like The Lion King and Cinderella, the company now faces criticism for abandoning its core audience, families seeking wholesome apolitical entertainment. Instead, Disney has courted controversy with content that many perceive as incompatible with traditional family values. The financial implications of this Disney political shifts extend beyond box office losses. Disney's reputation as a safe, family-friendly brand has taken a hit, with the survey indicating a growing distrust among a significant segment of the population. And I think that seems pretty likely. And this isn't just reserved for Disney as well. We've seen this with other major studios. Many other movies out there and shows have failed because they were pushing divisive political narratives. And a lot of people, when they want their escapism and their entertainment, they don't want to necessarily be reminded of the cable news. So even if they don't necessarily agree with, or even if they agree or not with what's being shown, they don't want to watch it. I know me personally, I don't like watching certain stuff if it has a heavy political agenda, regardless of what side it's on, because there's some things I accept that it's going to be present in it. Other things, though, I don't want to be reminded of the world. I want to have a form of escapism. And when it's being reminded me of what's going on out there in the news, and it just kind of takes me out of it. But that's my own personal opinion. I'm sure there's many people out there who disagree with me on that one. But I think if a movie studio like Disney was actually trying to do what's best for their shareholders and for themselves as a company, they would try to keep it down the middle of the road. And I think Disney has started learning that this last year, because they have seen some success at the box office this last year. Inside Out 2 was one that went great for them. And that was one of the things that was coming out of from parents after they saw the movie with their kids. They're saying there's really no political agenda in the movie. It's just kind of straight down the road, middle of the road, something that you can take the kids to, families can enjoy it together. And it was just a decent enough movie. Then it came out later that they deliberately went into the movie and tried to remove any insinuation that Riley, the main character, was gay, because they thought there was some implications, or maybe there were some implications that were put in there by the people at Pixar prior to the release of the film. And then they went back and edited it. A lot of the people who were former employees at Pixar who were subsequently fired were complaining about this. So I think Disney realized that they were pretty much letting their people working for them do what they wanted with a lot of the content that they're producing. And they saw it was divisive. So they're like, okay, let's get rid of those people and remove what they've been doing to our stuff. They did it with Inside Out 2, found success with that. And then it came out later on that they're also going to be removing such elements within their new Pixar series, Win or Lose. And I think this is something that a lot of people are like, okay, this is a step in the right direction, because you're not trying to push necessarily a right-wing agenda. You're just trying to remove this stuff one of the statements that was said about this is they think this type of stuff doesn't need to be put into movies or shows. It's a conversation that parents should be having with their kids later on whenever they feel comfortable having that conversation with their child. At least that's the statement Disney put out. And a lot of people are saying like, yes, that's exactly it. So once Disney started pushing a lot of this stuff within their movies, thinking it was probably going to be profitable for them, it didn't work out. So now they're trying to remove that. They see it's successful as a result. So I think we can expect more of this in the future. And this is why I'm saying, like, even though some of the executives at Disney probably do have an opinion on these issues, and I'm sure they probably are more left leaning, which is why they're so quick to embrace such things within their movies. I think when push comes to shove, they want to make money, or at least they kind of have to make money. Otherwise, their shareholders will ultimately get rid of them. So they're kind of stuck with, just doing what's best for the company, which is something that audiences ultimately want, which is just produce stuff free of all politics. And like I said earlier, I don't know if it's to the extent that what the survey was reporting, but I do think, though, it does provide some numbers to show that at the very least, this is the direction that people are leaning, where the audience sentiment is that we don't want this stuff in our movies. We've seen that at the box office in the last couple of years. And now we're seeing this survey result. And I'm sure if we were to get more survey results, they'd probably all point to the same thing, at least if they were done properly. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.